Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to part two of Building Business Bootcamp. I am your host, Laquita Monley, and I have some phenomenal speakers that are on the panel today. And you guys, you don't want to miss this episode. So I'll give you just a few minutes. Let's get something to write with and something to write on as we prepare for part two of Building Business Bootcamp. Your story matters. But before we get started and begin to bring each of the guests in, I just want to take a moment to thank our sponsors at Covenant Press. Covenant Press is a faith-based Christian apparel and accessory shop where we as believers are able to purchase clothing items and accessories that allow us to wear the message of the love of Jesus Christ. You can connect with Covenant Press by going out to their website at www.covenant-press.com. Again, that's www.covenant-press.com in order to learn more about who they are and to order items from that great store. So listen, guys, it is that time to get started. So we're going to just run a quick commercial and bring our speakers on so we can dive into today's topic. Everything hinges on identity. It is the compass of our faith that aligns with the Holy Spirit to fulfill the Father's will. Wrapped up in identity is who we are, the purpose of our being, and every God-breathed promise that manifests as our success. Hello, I'm Laquita Monley, and I'm the author of Redefining Success, 8 Tools That I Use to Develop a Growth Mindset. In this amazing book, not only will I share with you 8 tools that I use for a growth mindset, but I'll also share the applicable principles based on God's word that you can easily implement in your life journey. So no matter where you are and no matter where you see yourself in the future, this book will be a tool that you need for your toolbox. Don't wait, get it today, and it can be found on Amazon by simply searching Redefining Success, 8 Tools That I Use for a Growth Mindset. Take care. Everything hinges on identity. All right, Miss Taisha, how are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
I am doing great, ma'am. I'm doing great. Listen, we're going to start off by letting everybody introduce themselves. So please tell the audience a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. My name is Taisha Bradley, and I am a celebrity publicist. For over 20 years, I work for corporations, nonprofits, and public figures in helping them get their message and get their brand out to the world. I've helped companies be featured in places like HBO, Forbes, The View, and so many more. Today, I'm a full-time entrepreneur, and I bring my talents to the everyday entrepreneurs just like myself to help them become more visible by using the power and reach of media. I'm so excited to be here today, and I have some fantastic brand new jewels to drop. So I'm very excited. Thank you so much.
Oh, I can't wait for those jewels. Listen, everybody, I see you guys coming on in the room. I appreciate everyone that's coming from Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Twitch. Come on in the room, get something to write with, something to write on, so that you guys can get these great tools that are going to be dropped today on the importance of your story and why it matters. So we're going to move on along, and we're going to bring up Miss Fancy Felder. Sis, how are you? I can't. Fancy, can you unmute yourself? There we go. There we go.
I'm doing good. And so I am Fancy. I'm the award-winning editor-in-chief of Swagger Magazine, which is an empowerment and lifestyle publication for the Black woman that likes to keep it real in life and in business. Along with that, I'm also the lead PR strategist as well as a visibility coach. The job is I execute campaigns for Black women-led businesses, girl bosses, and authors so that they can receive more visibility and exposure for their brands. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Listen, I am excited about today. We got some powerful panelists up here today. We're going to move on to Miss America Supermom because I know you got some jewels to drop today.
much for having me, Laquita. I love your platforms because I get so many nuggets. So I'm excited to be here and got my little pen and paper ready so I can take some notes. But I am Lachelle Atkins, also known as America's Supermom. My husband and I have 15 children, and my platform is mental wellness. I struggled with depression myself for 13 years. I was hospitalized 3 times, and now I am passionate about sharing strategies, tips, and whatever I can with other women and moms so that they can have the life they desire without the expense of their health. So I am excited to be here and ready to take notes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, ma'am, for being here. I appreciate your yes. All right, Mr. Adioke, sir. How are you? Come on in the room and let us know who you are and what you do.
Excellent. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Monley, for this invite. I am so thankful for the privilege to share the platform with this amazing audience. My name is Adigoke Omotola. I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm a Maxwell certified leadership coach. I'm the host of the leadership podcast, Leadership Talk with Adigoke. Um, I'm also a certified customer service trainer. I'm the author of 2 books, Customer Retention and Experiential Approach, as well as Selling in Crisis. Both of them are available on Amazon. I've been an entrepreneur for about 20 years, a bit over 20 years, and I love to add value. So it's such an honor to be on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you for your yes and for being here. So we're gonna jump right in because each one of us understands the importance of our story and why we want to share it. But those that are tuning in, we have a lot of new entrepreneurs or those that are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, but maybe the idea of sharing their story is scary or they might not know how. And I remember Taisha, when you were a guest on Create Your Future Self Live, you left some nuggets with us that were pretty powerful. And I'm actually going to ask you to repeat 1 or 2 things from that broadcast. And it's because as a publicist, both yourself and Fancy, you probably get a lot of people that say, oh, I need to be your client, but they're not quite ready to have you on their team yet. So that's how I want you guys to open up for you first, Taisha, and then for you, Miss Fancy. Why is our story important to our personal brand? And what do we need to do to prepare ourselves to actually reach out to you guys and have that partnership with you guys be successful? Uh-oh. See? Operator error. There we go, Miss Taisha.
Okay, awesome. I didn't know. I was like, do you want me to do it? Thank you so much. So let's talk about stories. First of all, stories. Stories are throughout time. It's how we knew what happened a long time ago, before television, before radio, all those things, so it's storytelling. And I always say that everyone has a story to tell and everyone loves a good story, right? That's why reality TV is so, we're enthralled by other people's lives. And so while you may think that, your life may not be that exciting, your life is very unique to you. No one else has your same family. No one else has your exact same friends, your exact same day, your life. And that's what makes you unique. What is your story? Where did you start and where are you now and where are you going? That is your story. And what's important about that is that no one else has that exact story. So you don't have to worry about how to differentiate yourself, how to make your story more interesting. Stories tend to have a cadence of themselves. We see it in Hollywood movies all the time, and the way that you tell your story to like your media and your audience is the same way that you tell your story to your friends. Everyone has that story that they tell their friend and they're like, all right, boom. So this happened and that happened. And then wait, let me go back. You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe that. Makes a story so good. You can talk to your audience and tell stories in that same way that will engage them and that makes them memorable, because what people can remember out of anything else is a good story. I'm sorry, I don't hear you. You're muted.
See, now that's my operator error. I was just saying to the audience, listen, I hope they were listening because you shared some amazing stuff right there. But in the event they were not writing that down, the replay is a real thing. It's available. So make sure those of you that are tuning in, that if you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, or if you're not following us on our various social media platforms, you want to make sure that you subscribe on YouTube, hit those notification bells so that you'll know when great content is being dropped. So hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons of today's episode. And let's share this out as much as possible on today to make sure that we're getting the message out to our friends and our family, because it is important to share our story. And so the second part to that question, Taisha, is, as entrepreneurs, we're saying, okay, that's great. I'm ready to share my story. I need a publicist. What do you say to that?
So usually what I do is I give a quiz and I ask certain questions, to find out if you are ready for a publicist. And oftentimes people think that they are ready for a publicist when they decide that they're ready for a publicist, when they want to get out there and get media and be out there. But what I tell people is that if you are not already doing that yourself or on your own, or the media is not approaching you, you're not ready for a publicist. A publicist is your money best spent is on a publicist is when you are already clear on your story, you're clear on your brand is strong, already doing well. You shouldn't depend on us to help you with your sales. It does help, but that's a lot of pressure for us. We're not, PR is related to marketing, which is sales, but it's not the same. And so just being strong in your brand already. And often I tell people, are you having so many offers for media that you no longer know what to accept or what to decline, or that your schedule is so hectic and filled with interviews that you can't manage it, or that, you've done all the small publications and you've been in your local paper and on your local TV and regional things, and you've been there, done that twice, maybe even 3 times, and you're ready for bigger things. That is when you are ready to hire a publicist. Because let us tell you, Fancy, right? We are a luxury experience. We are a luxury expense. You don't have to have PR. It's nice to have. It's great to have, but it's not a must. And it is one of those luxury expenses that are going to cost you easily 5 figures a month for a really good publicist. So you want to be in a place where you have a budget, where you're able to pay 5 figures in a month, where you're able to buy a plane ticket to fly out to California, last minute because I got you a gig somewhere. You have to be in a place, to work with a publicist to where you are not building your business, but you're scaling.
Great answer. When I heard you say that on Create Your Future Self Live, I was like, ooh, okay, that's real talk. And I appreciate it, because not a lot of people will be very honest in that area. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you want your story out there, you want the visibility, and you're saying, okay, I can't do this myself. Let me add to my power team. Let me bring this in. But your transparency that you got to do some work on your own before I get to you, that really just changed the way that I thought about a lot of stuff. So again, Taisha, I can't wait to hear the rest of the jewels you have for us today. We're going to move on over to Miss Fancy. You are a visibility coach. You are the head individual at Swag Her Magazine. Talk to us about that journey, and just add to, in your own words, the importance of your brand being visible, and when to bring you on the team, and how to pitch to you. Okay, I don't have a publicist, but I want to pitch to a magazine. Like, what do we need to do as entrepreneurs to actually show up correctly in this space?
Okay. So also, I just have to say, Taisha, you said so many things that, really resonated with me. A lot of them, because I actually started out as a journalist and, publishing a magazine before I began stepping into PR, although I am a PR major. So I never worked with anyone else. So a lot of things have been self-taught. And just as you were saying a lot of those things, I was like, dang, you know what? That makes more sense. That could possibly eliminate some of my problems. But I will say that for me, I feel like I always tell my clients, you know, in order for people to buy into you, well, in order for people to buy into your brand, they have to be able to buy into you. And that's where your story comes into place, because, you know, people like to feel like you're relatable. Oftentimes, everybody's just so into this pushy, salesy type of mode. You know, it's just buy, buy, buy from me, but they never get a glimpse of who you are. You know, they never understand why this product is important to you or this service is important, you know, why you're doing this, the struggles that you've gone through to overcome those things. And then as a journalist, you know, I've always asked my features different questions about the obstacles that they've incurred, because I feel like that's a great way for people to really connect to them and be able to say, you know what, I had that same problem and I had to do so-and-so, or I didn't know what to do. But now that I've read this article, now I know what to do. But and I also, you know, want to know more about this person. And so that's the reason why I think that it's so important that we intertwine our stories, you know, within our brand and our marketing mix. And then as far as to the second part of the original question, I think that before someone is really ready to work with the publicist, because now I'm not on the scale of Taisha now. So my clients are more so small business owners, but for them, I still think that PR can be important. But I must admit, when you said it is a luxury, I'm like, girl, you know what? Like, okay, that's something I never really thought about, but I do totally agree with now as I've been practicing over the years, because I realize that oftentimes people think that they want a publicist, you know, oh, this is exactly what I need. But what you may really need is someone to assist with your marketing plan. And I credit Malika Holloway. One thing she said, like, you can't fault your publicist for not being able to, like, you know, help you get placements or things along the lines of sales, because the main thing is you need to have a marketing plan to go along with that. Like, you don't want to just be so focused on building up those relationships with the community that your business is, you know, I'm not going to say suffering, but you're not giving that attention to that. And then along with that comes, you know, I think it's really good that you have a team, because there needs to be one specific person that we need to be able to assess you. You need to be accessible to us, you know? So when you have those interview opportunities, then it's not like, oh, well, you know, I got to work, I got to do this, this, and that. Those type of things can really get to be an issue. I'm actually coming up with some ideas as far as I'm planning to do a blog about how to lose a publicist, because I've just been encountering different things about, you know, that I'm realizing I don't think people oftentimes realize. And it is, I mean, it does cost money, yes. And I think that oftentimes people, again, they more so want the sales. They're not so much interested in the interviews. They'll think that that's what they need, you know, but what they don't understand is that those interviews are another way for you to reach your target audience, to expand your audience so that more people know about you. They may not instantly buy from you in that moment, but now they have that brand awareness, and then they're going to be able to say, you know, I'm looking for so-and-so, and I remember I read about so-and-so and so-and-so, and then they can come back to you, you know, they probably started following you after you did that interview. So I don't think that oftentimes people take that into consideration. They want that overnight success, and that is not necessarily the thing, because another reason I think that, you know, people come to me, or that they're ready to come to me, is when they have an angle. I believe in angles, even if it's just an observance or a holiday, you know, like this month is alopecia month. Okay, this is a good month for stylists and, you know, people within the beauty industry to really be taking advantage to pitch themselves, or, you know, I wouldn't exactly say just hire a publicist for 3 months or a month, because that doesn't really make sense to me. But this would be a great opportunity to try to pitch yourself for more features, or to, you know, share your expert opinion on different things. So those are kind of some of the main reasons why I would say, you know, someone would come to me, but they do have to be ready. And when I say ready, I think another thing that people don't look at when they're considering hiring a publicist is making certain that they have those things like a professional photos. I do assist them with bios, but you need to have something, you know, you need to have a solid foundation for your business, because it is going to take time away from your business in order to do things effectively.
Listen, I hope y'all was writing that down. Don't worry though. The replay is here. hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons. Let's get this broadcast out because look, we're about 20 minutes in, and Miss Taisha and Miss Fancy have just saved you several $1,000s and put you on the right track to help yourself before you bring in somebody else to help you. And I'm about to ask America's Supermom this question because she personally branded them right there. Like,
he is doing this to be funny with you. Tell her hi.
Hey, that's how we have 15 kids.
That's why you got 15 kids. I mean, and she real good at this personal branding, y'all. Let me tell you, she show up and you know who she is. And just so we can be clear, this is not just for the Facebook. I have met them in person, and that's real life. Like what we see right now.
He got jokes. Oh Lord, you know I'm trying to focus. You know what I'm saying?
You like your focus for that much, right? He changed your whole focus right there.
But I just want to say the things that you guys have mentioned so far are so true. I love the part about relating to other people. That's one of the main things of my platform is eliminating excuses. And a lot of times I tell people I have 15 excuses that I could use every day. However, when you share your story and you're relatable, then people eliminate the excuses. So if I say, you know what, yeah, I have 15 kids and I'm showing up doing this, they're like, they don't have an excuse not to do what they need to do in order to move forward with their brand or their business or whatever. And so I think as we talk about the challenges, we begin to eliminate them from even be a hindrance to what we want to do. You know, I've been through 13 years of depression, 3 hospitalizations, you know, kids acting crazy, right? Husband acting crazy. I'm acting crazy. I mean, so many different things, but you know, what you focus on grows. And I think we all have challenges, you know, that are out of our control. You look at this pandemic and we could all be somewhere stuck focusing on the negative. But when we decide to move beyond that and keep moving forward and think about what are the positives, where are the opportunities, what are the things that we can get started with today that can help us to move forward. So I think the ability to resonate with other people is clear when you talk about some of the things that you've overcome or things that you're even struggling with, because then you can build a stronger base of people that can help support you in whatever it is that you're desiring to do. And when we are able to be relatable, we eliminate the excuses. And one of the things that I would kind of conclude this little portion with is I was listening to a podcast early when I first got started with coaching. And the gentleman said that, you know, as you level up in your business, people are going to continue to put you on a pedestal. He said, but the real strength is to know that you don't have to stay there, that you can get down from off the pedestal. And if you think about a pedestal, it separates you from the other people. You know, you're on a higher level, you're looking down on them, you're not able to be relatable. But when you think that you can get off of that pedestal and you can be on their level and talk about the real issues that you face every day, you'll be able to be more inspiring and impactful. And so that they can be better versions of themselves because they can watch the different nuggets or strategies that you've implemented in your life that can help them grow and be better.
That's real good. I love that. I'm gonna come back to you because I got another question that I want to ask you about your story. But let's go on to Adi. Okay, sir. Let me see if I can unmic you. There you go. You know, how important is your story or your ability to tell your story been in your journey as an entrepreneur, especially in the leadership space?
Well, thank you so much, Coach. I think your story is what makes you unique. It's your selling point. It's what puts you out there as someone who's authentic. People just want to listen to stories that really, make them, sit back and say, wow, so I'm not the only one going through this. This is really encouraging. So, particularly failure stories, helps people to really get encouraged. For example, in my own journey, my story was my dad was, he had a PhD in law, and he was an intellectual, but I struggled through school. I mean, my elementary school, high school, university, I was bottom of the class, and you know, and it was tough for me because I mean, my siblings were doing so well, and but the gap was I wasn't self-aware, and but eventually there was a turnaround, there was a shift, and that shift led me to gaining a master's in real estate, master's in business administration, and now becoming an author, becoming a podcast host, and all that. So whenever I have the opportunity to share my story, it encourages others that you might be down, but you don't need to stay there. So your story, that's your message, and when you keep on sharing it, and you keep on improving, it encourages others, and you build a community, and that's what makes it even more relatable to quite a number of people. And some people feel that sharing the story makes them vulnerable, but there's no point in just covering up the failure stories, and just sharing the best part, because people just they want something new. They want something authentic. They don't want you to wear a mask and cover up all your challenges. They just want to be encouraged, and it's a win-win. Yeah, it's a win-win. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So my next question is going to be, we've talked a little bit now about the importance of sharing your story, and both Fancy and Taisha have indicated that marketing, branding, advertisement, PR, that's all different. Those are all different things. Do we need all of them working together? We do. And so that's where I want to go now. Like, one of the hot button buzzwords going on right now is your personal brand. Your personal brand. You got to focus on your personal brand. I'm not saying that that's not true. It is. But how important is it for us to have our personal story down to a science? Like, Lachelle has her personal story down to a science. And in everything and every platform I've been on with her, when she leaves, you're going to know why she's America's supermom. And she can just interweave it into the conversation so smooth. Like, yeah, she just did that. Like, so and we'll start with Fancy. Like, how important is it to be able to do what Lachelle does so well, as it relates to building your personal brand?
I think now I don't know all of Lachelle's story, but I can see even when she mentioned how she has the 15 excuses that she's good at this. But I would have to say, I mean, it is very important. I know for me myself, just even with my personal brand, because I do struggle with my mental health, and I've shared that publicly. It's actually something that I talk about, and I was just on a cover of a magazine about it. But that all goes into the fact of me sharing my story, me being transparent and authentic, and people, it resonates with other people, but it also allows me other opportunities such as speaking engagements, or partnerships, or whatever the case may be. Like, I've actually garnered a partnership before because, I just came in. I talked about how when I started the magazine, I actually worked at the strip club, and it was actually the magazine that helped me to come out of the strip club. It was my desire to want to be the woman that, we displayed within the magazine, those type of women that we wanted to attract. So I think that personal brand aspect is very important in building a business or a brand. You know, overall, I kind of feel like they are parallel to each other, you know, because even I know that for many years I was behind the scenes and people would be like, oh, you need to go places, you need to go to events, more people need to see you, more people, you know, you need to be networking with people. And I was so introverted. It took me years to come out of that. There are times now I can even still go on the Swagger Magazine page and people be like, oh, we never saw you before. We always wonder who, you know, who was behind this page. And I feel kind of bad, you know, because that could have been somebody that I could have gotten on my personal page by now had I actually been showing my face or had I actually been doing what I needed to do. But I think that our personal brands are so important because, again, it brings in that relatability. You know, it makes it so that it's not just like, oh, this person is always trying to market something or, you know, they're always trying to sell me something, but there's an actual human behind that. We can't hear you.
Unmute. I'm gonna have to just keep my mic open because I'd be talking and don't realize I'm muted. Listen, Miss Fancy, thank you for sharing that. Now, before we bring up Troy, Miss Taisha, can you add some value to that as well? Because our personal brand is important as well as our story.
Sure. Yes. So let's get clear on personal brand. So when people think, okay, my personal brand, this is me as a person and my family, and then my business brand, this is my business. And it used to be that way, but now with technology, there's not. You know, you can Google someone, you can find them, you know, you can look them up. You know, what people want to know is that the person behind the brand is who they really say they are, you know. And I like to use this, right? So a lot of times people like to have a certain persona, but they aren't that way in real life. But then when someone meets them in real life, it doesn't match. And now it's strange and I kind of don't trust you, right? So being, you know, that personal brand is just all a part of that one brand. Is it consistent? It doesn't have to be you, your face, hey, it's me, but people have to know, okay, there is a person behind the brand and this is who the person, you know, says they are and what they represent, and it's consistent. You know, that's what personal brand is. People think that it has to be them and their face splattered on everything. It doesn't. It has to be you taking ownership of this brand and saying, yes, you know, I stand for what I put out there and I am who I say I am. As far as people finding out what their story is, for a long time, even as a publicist, I didn't know my story because I'm so busy. Like Fancy, we like to be behind the scenes. You know, a lot of times publicists are introverted. We'll push you on the stage in the second, but us, no. We're back here, right? We like it back there. And so the way that I found out what my story was by doing podcast interviews. You know, I was like, all right, you know, I want to get myself out there as an entrepreneur. Podcasts work. It's accessible, you know, I can do it easily. And so I was so nervous at first just to kind of talk about myself. And I noticed that, you know, as I did more and more podcast interviews and I told the story over and over again, there were some parts of the story that I always told, you know, or some parts of the story where everybody was like, oh, that was good, you know, and I'm like, I'm keeping that part, you know. And then sometimes there were parts that, you know, people were kind of like, that's fine, or I didn't get it, or didn't relate. And so as I continue to tell my story over and over and over and over again by being on podcasts, that's how I built my story. It's hard to tell your story if you're not talking and saying it and telling it. You can't do your story in your head, you know. You learn stories by telling them. So I encourage people to jump out and start talking about yourself and talking about your experience. And the more and more that you do that, the more and more you'll build your story and you'll start to know what your story is. And it just comes like that. You just know your story, you rattle that sucker off, and you do it so good and so much and so consistently that other people can tell your story just like you. And that's where you want to be, where you have other people who know that story down to a T because they done heard you say it 1,000 times. And even though they're tired of it, I bet you they can say it back, and they do. So to keep telling your story and it'll build itself.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Listen, Mr. Troy, welcome, sir. We're glad to have you. Let me see if I can unmute you. There you go.
Hey, what's going on, Laquita? America Supermom, Fancy, Ideko, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So please apologize. And Taisha, you all right with me because you located in my hometown. Nashville is my hometown. I was born and raised there. But anyway, shout out to Nashville. But thank you for being here. I apologize for being late. A pastor called and said, hey, let's go get a bite to eat. And I've been around long enough when these pastors, a lot of times they don't have the fellowship. And so, sometimes they're lonely and they need the fellowship. So I said, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know how long it was going to take. And then I look, oh man, I got to get here. Then I got here. Then I started having audio technical difficulties. Y'all know I'm usually in my office with my Zoom screen, and so I had to bring out my laptop, and I'm here. But anyway, so much. Let me introduce myself. My name is Troy. I own a company called Troy Ho Consulting. I'm the CEO. CEO stands for Chief Encouragement Officer. My title is my personality. I'm a certified financial educator on a mission to eliminate financial literacy. And the mic is back to you, Laquita.
Thank you so much, Troy. We're gonna incorporate you into the conversation because we're talking about today the importance of your story and why sharing your story matters. And so we're gonna circle back around to you. But let me go up to Mr. Adeoke there real quick. And sir, in the leadership space and the times that you've shared your story, I've had the pleasure of hearing parts of your story on Clubhouse, because you have a Clubhouse there in the Thrive community. And how important has it been to you or to your clients to have that, what feels like I can connect with you relationship? Has that been to your business overall, with your ability to share your story and be relatable to your clients?
It's been awesome. It's also, I'm humbled by the reception as well. People trust you more, and it opens a lot of opportunities. I was in London came back to Africa about a few weeks ago. And while I was in London, someone reached out to me who had heard my story and invited me to the organization. And so for about a month, every Sunday, I was there, sharing my story with the with the teenagers, and my wife was also there, and it was such an honor, and the feedback was awesome. So, I said to myself, if I had not shared my story, the lady would not have heard about me. And you've been on my podcast twice, and we have a clubhouse together where we meet on Wednesdays, and the relationship is getting better. And so the journey of even my podcast was just something accidental. During the lockdown, I just decided to start speaking on Facebook, and my wife said to me, "Why don't you turn this into something that you do regularly?" And that was the journey. And so I bring a lot of people on the podcast, do interviews, and I share my story, and they connect with me as well. So I have relationships as far as Hong Kong, Australia, the US, and I'm speaking from Lagos, Nigeria. So your story makes you relatable, just like I've heard other speakers say. Your story also opens a lot of opportunities, particularly in the leadership space. People want to relate with transformational leaders, not transactional leaders. And so if you want to transform lives, like John will talk about the 5 levels of leadership, John C. Maxwell, positional, permission, reduction, people development. And when you want to develop people, you need to share your story. That's the only way you can develop people. Because once you share your story, they can identify with what you've been through, and you become mentors and role models for people. So I think in the leadership space, the more leaders show up and share their story and validate others and pull other people up, and reassure other people, it gets better and better. Yeah, I yield the mic. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ms. Lachelle, I'm coming to you because you just have like this secret sauce. Like, how did you get to this space? Or let me rephrase the question. When you first started sharing your story, how was that? Like, now you can, it's flawless, it's seamless. I don't care what kind of platform we're on, whether you have 60 seconds or a whole hour, you have this amazing ability to share the right snippets of your story to attract people. And you're like this amazing collaborator and connector. And I know that because I know some of your story, with a person that had battled with depression and mental illness and the hospitalization, 15 kids, because it's a part of your story. Like, how did you get to the place where you were even comfortable doing that and know that it would be key to your business growth and success?
Well, I mean, that is a loaded question. I think, I have several master classes on that, I think. But, to highlight the key points, I think the first thing is really being healed on my journey. I went to a vision board party after I got home from my last hospitalization in 2016. And I had the lady who was the keynote speaker introduce herself, and she started her talk and she said, well, I used to be a prostitute. So everybody's looking around. And so she said, I wasn't on a street corner, but I was a single mom and I did what I had to do in order to provide, pay my bills and do what I needed for my kids to have a good life. And so she said I could say that strongly without conviction because I'm not that person anymore. And I think the first thing is that when we go through trials and obstacles, we allow those obstacles to define us. We stay stuck there and we don't move past it. And a lot of times we're not even told how to get past it. So I think when you first have the idea of knowing that whatever your story is, whether it's being an alcoholic or prostitute in her case, or anything else, trauma, you can decide today that you can change that. And you can just attach yourself with the right people and create a strategy on how to get past it. And it's doing that work every day, little by little, that changes that dynamic for you. So being able to be open about something that happened to you, and it happened for you because it helped create you to be the person you are today, but knowing that it doesn't define you. There's more to the story. That's just a chapter. And I think in terms of relevancy, I'm very passionate about depression because to me, I think it's a silent illness. A lot of people talk about, we've got people emotionally having issues. And as you can see with a lot of these shootings, people that are in authority that abuse their authority because they got issues, it's something that starts kind of small and it continues to build to magnify into worse areas because people don't talk about it. So whether I'm on a business platform, a parent platform, something in the community, my husband's a pastor. He's also retired military. I don't care what platform you give me. Anytime I have a microphone, I'm going to bring up the importance of mental wellness because people are afraid to talk about it or they don't know how to talk about it. So, and the last thing I would say, because I'm trying to fit it all in here, is understanding that you don't have to reinvent the wheel or be all things to all people. Just look back to the person you were yesterday, last week, last month, and just help them. If you're a high school student, you can go back to somebody in elementary school and help them. That's something you've mastered. You could also go to get somebody from the middle school. We think that we have to arrive and be at the top of our game in order to help somebody behind us. But it's when you go back helping those people where you've been, that like the back of your hand because you lived it. So you don't have to try to impress anybody. You can just be you, share your story, and they can glean the nuggets that they need to in order to move ahead.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Listen, in these short 44 minutes we've been on, can y'all believe it's been 44 minutes? In these short 44 minutes that we've been on, listen, we've gone to church and back again with the nuggets and the tools that have been shared by the panel speakers. So I know y'all busy writing and you was like, Laquita, they talking and they saying it faster than I can write it. Don't worry about it. because the replay is available. I'm going to keep saying that because this is the type of broadcast that you want to listen to multiple times so that it can soak in and you can really have a chance to process through the things that you've heard and to figure out how to implement those tools in your life. So listen, once again, hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons. We want to get this message out to as many people as possible because our story matters. Our story matters. And we're getting some great tools today on why it matters, why we want to tell it, and how telling it won't just benefit us, but it benefits the target audience, the people that we've been created to reach. And so, Troy, I know you have a passion for financial literacy, and especially as it relates to Black women and making sure that we understand how money works and how we can use it as a tool, not just to obtain wealth, but to maintain it as well. But in this space, we're talking about the importance of sharing our story. How has sharing your story or encouraging others to share their story had a great impact on your business? Uh-oh, I can't hear you. Nope, still can't hear you. Nope, can't hear you. Still can't say something. Can't hear you. How about you try to come out and then come back in and see if that makes. There you go. Nope. You was there for a second.
What about now?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. Okay. All right. So first of all, before I mention about that, I just want to give a shout out to American Supermom Lachelle. She's been very consistent on her message and who she are. We've shared some stages together on Clubhouse, and I've been on her podcast, and we've have a connection. So make sure you listen to her because she's going to give you some great gems. And American Supermom, I think we're going to start back up my room back in the fall. So I kind of taking a little break from the Clubhouse. But anyway, I made a post yesterday on LinkedIn, and the post said that 90% of Black women face a 90% wealth gap in America. And I made it, I put it, that's alarming to me. 90% is a wealth gap of 90% in America. And it came from, if you don't have it, you can find it. But if you reach out to me, I'll send it to you. Goldman Sachs came out with a 37-page PDF called Black Women Economics, and it came out March of last year. And one of the statistics it showed us, I've said this. So in America, the median net worth for a white family is $189,000. For a Black family, it's $24,000. But if it's a single Black female household, it's only $7,000. That's where the 90% come in. But also they dealt with VCs getting venture capital. They also dealt with health. They deal with education. So it's a passion of mine. And what's a passion of mine, for every dollar that a white male makes, a white female makes 82 cents, but a Black female makes 68 cents on the high end, 58 cents on the low end. I've said this before, Black women are some of the most educated women in America. However, they carry the most student loan debt. So they carry the most student loan debt. They're the most educated, but they get paid the least. That's a 90% wealth gap. That's terrible. And somebody should be screaming and say, hey, what do we need to do to fix this? What do we need to do to change this? And so I've taken it on myself, as a mission. I have my wife, I'm married, female. And so I've taken it on a mission because I care about women, especially Black women, and also our race. And I'm not exclusive to our race. But these statistics are alarming. Why are we so far away? Why do Black women do not get the opportunities and the pay as other people? And they're just as qualified, sometimes more qualified. Great example is Judge Ketanji Brown. She was more qualified than all the other judges that have got appointed, but she had the most scrutiny. People say, all I want is them to have the qualification. Well, she did. Why she didn't get picked a few years ago? I can go on and rant about that. But anyway, back to you, Laquita.
That's why you're on this show, because you love to share the story of our people, like our current story, the things that don't make it to the top pages of the news, right? Not necessarily, you do share your story, but the thing that attracted me and caused me to start to follow you, where you were always sharing those types of facts, those types of nuggets about the disparity as it pertains to wealth in America between Black families, Asian families, white families, male, female. That's a story. And it's a part of our story, and it matters. And if it's not going to be told on major stages, we have to make it our business to tell it so that it can flood the Google algorithms and people see it more, right? Like, we're living in this age of social media to where we don't have to always depend on the major media outlets to share our story. But if we're not sharing it, then who else is going to share it? So thank you so much.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on my Facebook, someone tagged me last night. They tagged me, and they tagged me in an article where Aretha Franklin estate had to pay $7.8 million in back taxes. So I don't know if you guys realize that Aretha Franklin, one of her, she's one of the ones. Aretha Franklin, Prince, the late DMX, Chadwick Boseman are some of the people that didn't have an estate plan, which is really sad. So when she tagged me in that inspired me. It inspired me. So I made a Facebook post and said, who would be willing to come for a free webinar to learn about estate planning and wills and trusts? And I got some people that say, hey, I'll be interested. So y'all know what I did today? I called Sandy Bozeman. I don't know if you guys know Sandy. She's a estate planning attorney in the state of Florida. She's very knowledgeable, and we've done some things on Clubhouse. So we set up a webinar next month dealing with estate planning, and especially these things are very important for Black families, because we are behind in there, and a lot of times a person passed, and then the generational wealth or the property doesn't pass properly. Somebody come in and steal it. So these are things, just free educational, that we've got to get more of. But then also, we not only education, we need to have implementation. So I just wanted to add that. That made me think about that. Just these things just really bother me. And I can't do it alone, but I can do it if we work together. But I'm really inspired for this, and I'm excited about this class coming up next month.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Listen, guys, those of you that are listening on the live or listening to the replay, you want to make sure that you connect with Troy on all of his social media platforms. And if you don't have estate planning in place, or you've never heard about estate planning, you want to make sure you connect with Troy and get your entry into that free webinar.
Laquita, disclaimer, I'm not an attorney. I'm not an estate plan. I work in the financial services, so I want to make that disclaimer. Sandy is the estate planning attorney.
There you have it. He's the man that's going to connect you with the individual that can get you the right information. How about that? He is the plug.
Can I just commend you, Troy, on how you started that story? That was a great story starter. Once you hit us with that statistic, that 90%, we were all like, what do you mean? Everybody leaned in for the rest of that story. So that was a great demonstration on a great way to start a story, to pitch a story, or to grab people's attention. Start off with a startling statistic like that, and people lean in and they definitely want to know more. So great job, Troy. Listen, let me know when you're ready for a publicist.
And you in Nashville? See, she got me.
Right.
So, Miss Fancy, I want to pull you into the conversation, both you and Taisha. You made a really great point there, Taisha, which is kind of how I want us to start to wrap it up. We've been talking about the importance of sharing your story and telling your story, but for those that have never done it before and maybe afraid to say, like, I'm not a public speaker, I can't do that, or if they're like me, they're an overthinker. and I've overthought this thing for a long time, and I can't get that jump start. What are some suggestions that you guys have to help a person get started with even crafting their story, and becoming comfortable with telling it? I'm muting myself too fast, Miss Fancy.
Okay. I would have to say, I think as far as getting started telling it, because I think that might be a good place to start. Like if you start with smaller publications, just, there are some out there that they kind of interview everybody, but the interview questions are, I guess what you would call static. Like everybody gets the same questions pretty much, or you choose through the questions, but that allows you to start to, begin to write your story out. And then kind of like, as Taisha said, you begin to notice those pieces that you mention all the time, the ones that you talk about more frequently. And then those are the things that you need to include as you're moving forward and make certain that you're discussing. But also, I would also look at one thing I think that a lot of people love in this day and age, and that we kind of do a lot with the magazine, we kind of look at the going from the victim to victor type of model. That's what I call it. So how did you, look at your obstacles or your challenges, and then how you overcame that? That's oftentimes a good place to start. And then you just you already know your business, you already know how your business was started. And then you kind of, I guess you say, combine the two. Of course, you want it to make sense, but I think that those are some places that you could start. And then even just also, look, Taisha, I hope I'm not taking your answers, but I'm just thinking, like, when you said that about the podcast interviews, I thought that was a great way as well. Because you are talking, and the more that you're talking about yourself and your story, the more comfortable you get, sharing it. And that's something that even I had to learn. So I think, and as I've had clients in the past, initially they started out really shy, and I had to feel like I would have to keep asking them, okay, tell me something more. Or I have to come back and ask about something else, because I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out how I can pitch things better, and then over time, it's like, now you can ask them something and they're ready. You know what I mean? Like, okay, they got this now. They already know, they know the story. They know how to intertwine it. Sometimes they may not know how to intertwine it, but they at least can elaborate. And I think that that's so important, because for me as a journalist, one of the hardest things is when you ask someone a question and they give you like that straight, short answer, and it's just like nothing else in there. And, and I'm just like, okay, it's like kind of like when you ask, I guess, maybe an open or closed question. And most times that's not really how we're writing. Like, people want to know more than that, because as we keep saying, it was in that story that things are relatables. So yeah, those would be my tips.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Miss Taisha, please add some more value to that. Like, what are some things or challenges you've seen your clients face with learning how to tell their story? Some great things we can do to get better.
More so with my entrepreneur clients, even self, you got to get over the imposter syndrome. Everybody feels like a fraud at some point in time. Even the big, celebrities and all the business people, everyone kind of feels like that. It's just a matter of just pushing through that and continuing to go, because other people don't see us how we see ourselves. We'll do an interview and be like, that was terrible. I don't know what I was talking about. But then give it a minute and you look at it later and you're like, that was actually not that bad. So people should expect to go through that. Just expect to feel afraid, expect it not like your voice, expect to not like look how you look. Like, we all do it, and everybody still just kind of goes on with that. As far as getting started, again, like I say, with the telling the story, I love where Fancy mentioned, like the magazines or the people that do those standard interviews that will help give you a structure of what your story is and help you understand, what readers are actually looking for, because it's the things that they're asking you. And then again, doing the podcast, getting on live with people, just kind of continuing to talk, that'll help you with your story. As far as helping people get their stories out to the media who want to get started. So I told all these people, like, hey, if you don't have 5 figures, you can't afford a publicist. But I would never just leave you there. I would never just leave you there, right? Got to start somewhere. And that's where my heart is, starting somewhere, right? So the first thing I do is I tell people, first, monetize. It's nothing like being a broke celebrity. It's nothing like people recognizing you from Instagram and you don't even have $1 on you. Like, we're not doing that. So I tell people to monetize first. Monetize your messages. If you're going to be saying something, if you're going to do your makeup and your hair and your eyebrows and you're going to be on a platform talking about something, at least have something set up so you can make a little bit of money from it. And I like to do that with affiliate marketing and affiliate links. The next thing I tell people is attract. You have to attract. And that's like the branding part of it, right? Because we say marketing, PR, advertiser, all these things are different. But I like to try to put them together a little bit, and I call it mediagenic market, right? So a little bit of everything, because you do need a little bit of everything, right? But not all of everything. So what makes sense with what out of marketing, advertising, PR makes sense for trying to get out there? So the next thing is to attract attention, attract the media, attract an audience. So that's like your branding. How do you look? If you aren't the best, if you can't afford a designer, get on the Canva. Everybody knows about Canva. You can watch Canva tutorials on YouTube. 1,000 people do it. You can buy templates from other places and use those templates to make something look really nice and really creative and really professional looking, right? Because the media, when we're checking you out or when customers or clients are checking you out, they're going to look to see what your stuff looks like. And if it doesn't look like you invest yourself, you sure are not getting their dollars, because what are you doing with the money, right? So there's ways that you can make yourself more attractive to audiences and also to the media when they're checking you out. And then I talk about publicize, right? So monetize, attract, and publicize. Tell your story, right? You don't have to be like, well, I don't know what to talk about. Just tell your story. It's good enough. Everybody wants to know about stories. If there's something that you want to add into your story that's relevant right now, that's fine. But there are plenty of people who are just really interested in hearing about your journey. So you don't have to always think about like what you're going to talk about. You can relate that. One of the great ways I tell that people that they can publicize their stories is by using Hero, Help a Reporter Out, helpareporter.com. It is a platform by Cision, and literally there are like hundreds and thousands of media requests on there every single day, Monday through Friday, 3 times a day, where they're journalists literally looking for people to answer questions, to give a quote, and they're looking for people like maybe in a certain industry, someone in finance to talk about mortgage, maybe a mom to just talk about bedtime schedules for going back to school, all kinds of things. So you can find something on Hero anytime. It's free to join. That is a super duper great spot to start to find it, because you aren't having to like go out and pitch somebody and tell them about yourself. You're literally answering questions from journalists who are looking for people like you. And if they want to use your information, they will say yes. If they don't, they most likely won't say anything. But I've gotten in Forbes from Hero, I've had an opportunity to do a virtual interview with Angela Bassett, all from Hero. So definitely start there at helpareporter.com.
See, that's why you on the show today.
Write that down.
Listen, I hope y'all wrote that down. But if you didn't, that replay is available. So listen.
Helpareporter.com. Spelled out just like that. Helpareporter.com. And you want to sign up as a source. Great place to start.
See, on Laquita's Toolbox Live, you're getting tips and tools. You're getting tips and tools. Listen, guys, I know that you have been getting some great information today, and I hope that you found the information valuable. But before we get ready to wrap up, I want to go through and just give everybody this one question. Leave me with, and Taisha just left us with a bunch of tools. So everybody else, listen, leave us with, 3 tools that the audience can use to understand the importance of sharing their story, and also let them know how to contact you, how to reach you. And so, Ms. Taisha, we'll start there because you left us the tools, but people need to know how to find you and how to connect with you.
Yes. Okay. So listen, I'm the queen of tools. I love I love tools. Like, so I do want to give some tools though. So my first one was helpareporter.com. That is one of my favorite tools. Another one of my favorite tools is a site called creativemarket.com. If you are a Canva user, you will love Creative Market. They have all kinds of templates for all kinds of things that you didn't even know you need it for your reels, for your social media, for your website. Like, definitely check that out. And the third tool that I would recommend is immediagenicmarketplace.com, which is a website that I'm opening up in August. And I have all of my favorite tools, resources, YouTube videos, all in one place. And it's literally like everything that anyone could ever need to like pitch media, to find the best things at Herald. Like, I really, really went in on this. And so that is going to be my new favorite tool, because it's one huge place of all my favorite tools together. I've been working on it for a while. So that would be that. So you can find me on social media. My handle is at Taisha Bradley. I have it right up there on everything, except on Facebook is Taisha Bradley MA. And then I am also at TaishaBradley.com is my website address. And then August 1st, Mediagenic Marketplace will be launching, and you can check that out as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for being a great guest today. Mr. Adeoke, give us 3 tools and let everybody know how they can connect with you.
Well, thank you so much for this. This is just like business 101, just learning so much. I got my book filled up. Now, 3 tools quickly. The first one is Leadership Talk with Adegoke podcast, my leadership podcast. We've done the 85th podcast. The one we had yesterday was Leadership and Relationship Management. So that podcast speaks to leadership from different perspectives, leadership and innovation, creativity, agility, so if you want to on your skills in the area of leadership and you want to really know more, definitely that podcast is a go-to. Then secondly, I have a course on udemy.com. It's called World Class Customer Service. It's an online course that can help you to, really leverage. Because customers, they're basically the engine room of your business. So you need to be able to learn the strategies, how to reach the customers, how to find them, keep them, and also grow them as well. Then thirdly and finally, my website, if I can mention it here, is firstdegreeconsulting.net. So if you want to collaborate with me, if you feel that, you want to gain some more traction, being a leadership coach, I've added value to quite a number of people, and I'm very open to doing a lot of collaboration. So firstdegreeconsulting.net, so those are the 3 tools. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Troy, leave us with 3 great tools, sir, and let everybody know how they can connect with you.
Yeah, so tool number 1 is free. It's an app called Mint. You can go to mint.com. It's Intuit by Intuitive, and you can keep track of your finances for free. You can connect your bank accounts, and you can set up budgets and things like that. The second one I mentioned last week, it's called privacy.com. I think it's an app, but also an online tool. And privacy.com allows you, if you are one that set up a lot of trial subscriptions of different products and services, when you do those trial subscriptions, many times we forget and we miss the subscription, and we end up our card or our debit card end up getting charged. So with privacy.com, it's a third-party app that you set the amount. So let's say you set it for, let's say the the trial is for 30 days, and the charge will be $39.99 a month. Then you just you basically set up a virtual card, and you put the virtual card for $10. And what happens is it's going to decline that purchase because you don't have an amount there, and then you get an email notification, that you can cancel that subscription, and it's free. My third tool is I have a free ebook. It'll show you how to double your money. It talks about the rule of 72, which a lot of people don't know, but it's an ebook for free. If you want that, just DM me. You can find me on all social media. I'm on Instagram. I'm Troy Talks Money. It's Troy _talks_money. Also on LinkedIn at Troy Holt, Facebook at Troy Holt, and Twitter at Troy Talks Money. You can connect me on there. I'm also on Pinterest. So if you're on Pinterest, I think Pinterest is one of those sleeping giants that many people miss. So I'm trying to learn Pinterest even more. Taisha, thank you for those tips for Canva, because I use Canva a lot. So thank you for that. And then for the tip on the reporter. So my name is Troy, and I'm thinking I'm on Clubhouse, and I'm done speaking.
Thank you so much, Troy. Those are some amazing tips. And now we're over to America's Supermom. Leave us 3 tips and let everyone know how they can connect with you.
Well, thank you again for this opportunity. And Troy, thank you so much for your kind words earlier. I am looking forward to more of those sessions in your room, because they really have me scratching my head and growing with some of trying to come up with the answer. So I'm excited for that. I think the 3 things that I would leave everybody with, I'm more of a practical person because I do still have 10 kids at home. So the first thing would be the alarms on your phone. There's a lot of things that are going on with my kids having practices over the summer. Just reminders for me to drink water, for me to check my email, or certain things that I do as I grow. I learn new strategies and techniques, and so I just don't depend on me remembering them. I set them as alarms in my phone. The second thing is notifications, turning them on. If you're going to be on social media, I believe you should turn your notifications on, because that's a great way for you to build relationships. There are several people that I'm connected to, and as they do things, you don't always see it. It's not always in your feed, or you just may not check your notification the time that it's actually listed on social media. So when you keep your notifications on, you're able to keep up with what's going on with people that are in your network and support them by simply sharing their post or making a comment, or sometimes that post will trigger you to make an introduction. We have an event, you and I, Laquita, coming up on the 25th. It's a Christmas in July meet and greet. And so we have people that have already registered. So one of the people that registered did a post yesterday, I believe, about a book that he has coming out. Now, I've never met him personally, but because I put notifications on everybody who's attending our event, when that came up, I was able to share his post, and I connected him with somebody in my network that can help him with his promoting of the book. So to me, notifications are a must. And then the last thing is just good old fashioned pen and paper, keeping it with you all times, because you never know who you might meet, what idea they may give you. Just being able to write that down in real time. So those are my things. You can find me pretty much on any social media platform. You can Google me under America's Supermom. I am always open to sharing my story to help other people. So if you ever need a speaker or anything of that nature, just reach out. But thank you again for having me, Laquita.
Thank you for coming. It's always a pleasure. Listen, this has been a great part 2. And I know that part 3 and part 4 is just going to keep getting better. And I know that Taisha will be returning. Troy will be returning, returning guests as well. And we've got some great additional guests coming up On part 3, I've got Dr. Sakisa, and she's doing some amazing work, and that marriage can win. So listen, we're talking about the importance of building business. And so building, those of us that are in partnerships, whether you're in marriage or long-term committed relationships, building your business while maintaining a healthy relationship is important. And we're going to dig into that on part 3 of building your business. We're still going to be covering visibility, branding, financial literacy, leadership. All of those things are important aspects of building your business. And they're like building blocks, right? So we got to keep adding the rest of the pieces so that we can get a whole picture. And so next week is going to be an additional piece. You don't want to miss next week. And you also don't want to miss week 4 as well. Week 4, we're going to have some great attorneys on the show with us that are going to be talking about the legalities that we need to be aware of, and making sure that our business remains our business, our brand remains our brand, our quotes remain our quotes. So we got a lot of things that are coming up in Building Business Bootcamp in week 3 and in week 4. So again, everyone, thank you so much to every one of my panel speakers. Thank you guys that have joined us across Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons. Let's make sure we get this broadcast replayed to as many people as possible. But
thanks a lot.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Yeah.
Thank you. But until next time, guys, you guys be blessed, take care, and have a great day.
Bye everybody.
Bye.
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 Everything hinges on identity. It is the compass of our faith that aligns with the Holy Spirit to fulfill the Father's will. Wrapped up in identity is who we are, the purpose of our being, and every God-breathed promise that manifests as our success. Hello, I'm Laquita Monley, and I'm the author of Redefining Success, 8 Tools that I use to develop a growth mindset. In this amazing book, not only will I share with you 8 tools that I use for a growth mindset, but I'll also share the applicable principles based on God's word that you can easily implement in your life journey. So no matter where you are and no matter where you see yourself in the future, this book will be a tool that you need for your toolbox. Don't wait, get it today, and it can be found on Amazon by simply searching Redefining Success, 8 Tools that I use for a growth mindset. Take care.